Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Kenneth Price, and we're Saturday, November 5th, and I'm on East Coast time, so it's 1 o'clock here, but this is our third Zoom meeting, and I've entitled this the 12 Steps to the Course in Miracles. And it's going to be a pretty informal meeting. We're not going to have a real large turnout. It's going to be more of a group discussion between myself and others who are 12 steppers. I'm a almost lifelong, 30 years 12 stepper, and the last 10 years a serious hardcore Course in Miracles student. And so I've opened up this Zoom room. I've been doing this. It's the fourth time, but it's the third time I'm recording this to start the dialogue. Those of us who have been in the 12 steps, those of us who are now fully committed to A Course in Miracles, what are the similarities? How are we transitioning from, I'm going to come out and say it. I got a lot of flack for saying it 2 weeks ago, from spiritual kindergarten to spiritual college. I'm not judging the 12 steps. I'm not comparing. I'm not, contrasting. I want to find the similarities instead of the differences. All right, so kind of tired this morning, so I'm just going to start off this morning with the Healer's Prayer. This is a prayer that comes directly from the Course in Miracles, and it pretty much sums up everything that we're going to talk about. Okay, so here it goes. We are here only to be truly helpful. We are here to represent him or her who sent us. We do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he or she who sent us will direct us. We are content to be wherever he or she wishes, knowing that he or she goes there with us. And this is my favorite line in the prayer, because we're all looking for some healing. We will be healed as we let him or her teach us how to heal. Folks, I don't feel too terribly inspired this morning, which is perfect, because the inspiration comes from these meetings. The inspiration comes from the joining. So let's just start the dialogue, see where Spirit wants us to go. Reverend Dale Blackford is going to come on, hopefully in about 10 minutes. And once he goes on a roll, then we all kind of stand back, because I love getting him recorded. So until he arrives, we got my mighty companion, Deanna, and she's just going to light up my life this morning. How are you, sweetie?
Hi, Kenneth.
Get us going.
Well, it's, I was just sitting on the edge of the bed thinking about, you mentioned the similarities between the 12 steps and A Course in Miracles. And I too feel, and then you also mentioned like how the 12 steps could be seen as kind of like spiritual kindergarten, and A Course in Miracles kind of springs from that. It's like I have found the 12 steps to be an inroads to, I don't know why this word is popping in my head, but I'm just going to say it, the big kahuna. It's like the release from the ego. And the 12 steps open that up for me. And even right now, the 12 steps is it's a solid foundation, because the big book always talks about the spiritual experience, the connection with God. God will do it for you, through you. And that's what A Course in Miracles is about connecting with the internal teacher that will move through you, and show you, guide you what to say, where to go, what to do. And I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I was feeling intensity. I was noticing and watching intensity come up. Just really watching the thoughts. I've got to do this. This, I need to be here. I need to go here. Whatever. Just feeling the constriction, and just watching it come up, and really just doing my best to surrender, not to give in to the ego demands, not to line up with the teacher that, that's below. I want to listen to the teacher that's above. The Course talks about we listen to messages from above or below, and I want to listen to the messages that come from above. And so I'm just, and so I'm thinking about surrender. And I thought about steps 1, 2, and 3. And then I was reflecting on how powerless I am in terms of people, places, and things. Like I'm completely powerless to everything external. And when I forget that and I seem to fall asleep and I listen to the messages from below and I start reacting, my life gets completely unmanageable. Then I get restless, irritable, discontent, as the big book talks about. That's all the ego. That's the ego script. That's it. I can't be a happy Deanna. Like I've been listening, I listened to David Hoffmeister, Keith Kavanaugh, and they really light the path for me in ways that I'm very, very grateful for. And then when I was sitting there, so I'm thinking about the powerlessness and the unmanageability when I listen to, or when I identify to the ego thoughts. And so I'm just doing my best to surrender in the moment, in that moment. This moment is your miracle, right? This moment is your miracle. And then I thought, okay, step 2, came to believe that a part greater than myself could restore me to sanity. I do believe, I do believe that in this moment, in just this moment, when I just get still and not listen to the craziness of the ego's ruckus shrieking, then I can feel the presence and I can feel a sense of calmness. And then, step 3, turning my will and my life over to God, made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. And so in that moment, it's a decision. I'm going to line up and listen to the Holy Spirit and be done through, or I'm going to line up and listen to the ruckus shrieking of the ego, listen to the ongoing script that's always there. It's always going. It's never fleeting moments of happiness, but it's a trick, and it's always there, but it comes and goes. And I don't want to listen to that. I want to make a decision to line up with Holy Spirit. So, I can see the resistance in doing that. It's like the ego is seek, 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 or resist, resist, resist. And can I just be with that in this moment? This moment is a miracle. Can I be with that? Am I willing? Of Course in Miracles talks about just a little willingness. 12 steps. Step 3, just a little willingness. Can I just be a little willing? Mustard seed size. Just a little willingness to say, okay, those 2 are thoughts. That's the script running. Those are the ego thoughts. Okay, can I just step back from that and just look at it? Can I be willing to do that? And I mean, that's the forgiveness process. That's the the step 6 and 7, like letting go of character defects. I mean, it's the same thing, except it looks like it's just, the 12 steps looks like it's just, and the 12 steps aren't even about how to let go or stop drinking and drugging. It's about getting down to causes and conditions, which is the ego thought system. That's what the 12 steps are about, getting down to causes and conditions and letting go of that. And of Course in Miracles, through the forgiveness process, really teaches us how to do that. And I'm just so grateful for the teachers, that I mentioned. I'm so grateful for them. And I just continue to listen, and I continue to follow in the mind, watch the resistance, and just keep climbing. David Hoffmeister said one time, and I never forgot it, because it resonated like a big just boom went off in me. And it was the Take Me Home video at the very end. Well, no, not at the very end. I don't think it was the very end. Maybe it was, but he was being interviewed. And he said, I wonder how many will continue the climb. And there was just an ominous warning, as Bill's story talked about, the ominous warning to that. And you know, yeah. So I just, I keep going. Like, I know we can't mess it up, right? But it was just, how many are just gonna just hang in there? Anyway, that's what was coming to me.
What do you mean that's all? That's a whole page of notes. I'm so glad I got you recorded. I love this record button because stuff comes out. Where else? I mean, this is the stuff that I value. I used to value money because of my culture. I don't value money anymore. I value this. This is wisdom. I don't know which one do you want. I mean, there's so many different topics. Let's just touch on the last one. Yeah, yes, yeah. That's it. And you and I have both been through. It's no accident that you brought up the mustard seed example, because I did a Zoom call last Sunday, and the mustard seed had to come into the Zoom call because that's exactly what we have to hang on to. What I do in the other ministry that I host, which is for people coming off psych meds and benzodiazepines, is I make it very, I've got to simplify it because I get real complicated with the metaphysics, but I make it caterpillar, cocoon, butterfly. And I think what David's referring to when he talks about the climb is the cocoon part of all this. We're not going to get from we can't get from caterpillar to butterfly with that cocoon part. It's awful. It's much. And what I said on Sunday is I said all the caterpillars. So, oh, that's terrible. You must not be spiritual. You're turning to mush. It's a big misunderstanding, by the way. But it's a tightly held secret amongst all the butterflies. You know, suddenly you realize, you know, that a lot of the caterpillars just look at you and say, "Boy, you must have been a spiritual failure," because it's the old has been basically there's the old paradigm and the new paradigm. There's the ego's paradigm and the spirit's paradigm. Not old and new, just ego and spirit. You said it right there. You said choice. You know, and then when I'm in the cocoon, Deanna, I have the faith of a mustard seed, but I can't always choose. How do I put this? And I know you'll be able to hear it. My choice is to have faith. My only choice is to have faith, and knowing that the spirit will show me, will direct me. Like, and that's what I wanted to bring in this morning. I always bring in practice. This morning I woke up all discombobulated. Oh, here we go again, discombobulation. I know what to do. I knew to take a walk, and I wasn't. My ego was. What did you use the word ruckus? Total ruckus inside my head. Well, by this time, you know, this many years, I'm used to the ruckus. I didn't react. I didn't. It wasn't. It was uncomfortable. It was annoying. I didn't like it, and I just said, okay, what am I going to do about it? I'm going to keep walking. I'm just going to trust. Wait patiently. And I think that's what the mustard seed looks like, at least in my story. Just be, you know, what I had done in the past was I had tried to battle the ego with my, you know, I'm going to hit it over the head with the Course in Miracles. What is that? No, Kenneth. Be kind and gentle with yourself. You're waking up and you're in the ego, and that's what I like about the 12 steps. Remember the 12 steps used to say on the wall, "This too shall pass." Same to pass. As far as it being spiritual kindergarten versus spiritual college, you know, I have to completely back out of my own words often, because spirit doesn't know grades. It's just a matter that the Course in Miracles, you know, has explained the ego in more detail, whereas the big book, you know, just gives it a very brief overview. But I mean, in truth, we both know no one needs to understand the ego. No one does. I mean, all it would take with the faith of a mustard seed, but I'm doubting Thomas. I need proof. You know, show me. And so Spirit said, all right, if you're going to be so goddamn complicated about this. So my first sponsor always said, she said, you're complicating things, you're complicating things, you're complicating things. She was right. So, the spirit doesn't see the problem. We're just going to send you this, this big, thick blue book. Spirit's going to send you all these pages because you complicate. Spirit said, oh, by the way, I love that you complicate things. I still, my fears, just, I've said it in almost all of my videos and all my Zoom calls, and I expose to everyone, yeah, I can't see the sun a lot of the time. I can't. I think what's different now is I know it's there. And I know it's there. I know I can't see it. And I make peace with it. Again, this too shall pass. And you can tell this morning, I'm not, I'm sort of discombobulated this morning. And it's perfect. I want to come onto a Zoom call and I'm discombobulated. So, so people don't think I'm something I'm not. I've never claimed enlightenment. I've claimed willingness. I've claimed determination. I claim it. I've never claimed enlightenment. You talked about connecting. Of course. What is the Course in Miracles? Just get connected. Period. I mean, how can we sum it up in one word? Connection. That's all I said it was. What else? Listen to the teacher. I know. Part of it is I can't listen to the ego anymore. I've been in that amusement park so many times, so many decades in the amusement park. I've ridden all the rides. Tell people, don't call me spiritual. I'm just tired and I want to go home. I mean, basically we have, if hitting bottom, it's just, we've all hit bottom. I can't go back into the ego anymore. I just don't have it. I don't have another one left. It's like thinking you're an alcoholic. That's why I love 12 steps and 12 steps. People drunks say, I don't have another one left in me. I don't. Too tired. And it's wonderful because now that I'm too tired, suddenly all these little miracles are popping into my life. Oh God, it's so fucking humbling a V8 moment. I finally just said, oh, it's over for me. It's over. I'll never be anything. And all of a sudden, boop. 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 Oh God, it was here the whole time. Yeah, it was here the whole time. But I had this core belief, oh, we got 3 people on board. Let's see who the third one is. Oh, Casey's on board. I wasn't on gallery view. So, Casey, how long have you been on board? You want to jump in? I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I just got in a couple minutes ago, really. So I don't really know any context or anything of what, I just got in.
I don't know any context. I'm kind of just told Dion I'm kind of discombobulated, so you guys create the context. Casey, you've always got stuff to share. Don't ever think you don't have anything to share. Casey, you've met Deanna before, haven't you? Well, Deanna, Casey, Deanna. You've met Deanna before. I'm going to mute myself when I'm not speaking because I got a beep in the background, which might be, screwing up the video. But I don't know. I'm in Ohio doing a remodel project, and I woke up feeling discombobulated. So I just just picked up the tools and went for a walk this morning. Dale Blackford's going to come on pretty soon, I hope. And once he gets on a roll, we all kind of just listen because I don't know where his stuff comes from, but that's getting it recorded is essential. You got to record that guy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe kind of this will kind of be a topic or kind of a direction, maybe. So I guess a couple weeks ago, maybe about a month ago or so, I've kind of missed, I got busy with stuff outside of, meetings. And so I don't know if that was me creating space for other thoughts to come in instead of being in this routine and this every 2 or 3 days I go to a meeting. So, it's kind of like I I don't want to say I'm purposely distanced myself because I was busy and I had to take care of stuff. So I guess it could have created space for other thoughts. And then, what some would say, oh, that's the disease talking, but it's like, okay, what is recovery? What can recovery look like? Does it have to be this specific, because in the rooms, they say to watch out for that black and white thinking, which to me, it's like, well, then just by saying that, then this is not the only way too. I can't believe that. Or I can't go by that just based off of what is being said and what we're trying to learn in there. And so it kind of got me thinking, what can recovery look like? What does it have to or should, and just these kinds of questions based around quote unquote recovery program. And so, if I asked 10 different, old timers or people that got a couple years or 5-10 years in there, probably get a couple different answers. And I know some will be, because I asked one person, they're like, well, you have to do what works for you, and then there would probably be some answers, because I've heard it said before, that's the disease talking and that. And so it's kind of just, well, anyways, I guess that's it in a nutshell. I don't want to kind of keep going back and circling and repeating myself, but just, and then whenever I withdraw from that, and I think me and you've talked about it before, of just being, of just, and I guess it's kind of like, if I go in this, room and I'm, kind of putting these expectations on myself that I have to do this to fix myself, then I'm not being, and I'm kind of now putting these, having these beliefs on me and my surroundings, and I, and then if I kind of do start holding myself to these, like, quote unquote expectations, then now I could be setting myself up for disappointment or failure in a sense. And so it's kind of made me question or kind of reel myself back in and, like, well, and it goes back to that, what is recovery, or what should or could it look like, or what can it look like? And so, and that's why it's always kind of falling back to, well, if I can't, it's weird, because then it's like, if I'm going into these rooms with expectations, then I'm not accepting myself in a way, and I don't know. So it's just kind of my morning thoughts, I guess, and what's kind of been, bouncing around in my head the last couple weeks or month. So that's all I got.
Casey, as your friend for the last couple of years, the first thing I got to point out is your progress and your growth. We need friends to point this out to us, and that's the first thing and that's why I record these, because what you just shared, I heard every word of that. I took that in. But before we get to Dale, hi Dale, I wanted to just, Casey, you and I have been refining our 12-step programs together. I'm not your sponsor, Casey. I'm walking here. I've been doing this. We've been doing it together. And I would nitpick the language. I do this. He said, when they say in the rooms, watch out for the black and white thinking. You know where I'm going to go with that. They're close. Just remove the words out and for. So all I'm going to say is watch the black and white thinking. All we got to do is watch the black and white thinking. So they're close. Just remove the words. And the last thing was, all of us. I know Diona's muted, but she's laughing. All right, so all of us have come into 12-step programs to fix ourselves. No wonder we get so discombobulated, because nothing's wrong with us. And guess who's gonna jump on that now? Hi, Dale. By the way, I learned that from Dale, that nothing was wrong with me. That's why I started laughing. I went to Dale with all these problems, years ago, thinking he could fix me, but he couldn't find anything wrong with me. You want to unmute yourself? It's good to join you. Sorry that I couldn't do it. I couldn't host these the last 2 weeks because I was traveling.
There you go.
I sort of landed somewhere, sort of.
Well, I was just listening to Casey talk about, I just tuned in and I was hearing him talk about, I don't know how to describe it. I don't have a real good cognitive recall. I have emotional recall more. But like, I guess what I was hearing was stuff about that stuff, that fixing, like you get involved in, it's like meditating, I don't try to meditate anymore because basically whenever, especially to be at peace, the whole word try is just like, we were sitting here today and we had a men's group Al-Anon meeting and it was on the 11th step and like sought through prayer and meditation. And I realized that I don't pray anymore, ever. And I don't try to meditate either because I don't try to pray because it's fun for me. And this is for me. It's fundamentally, it's like a lie that I tell myself when I pray, because first of all my prayers seem to be like from me to the higher power. And right then it's like I'm agreeing that there's a separation between us, that somehow I have to make that connection to get something to happen, and let alone what I want to have happen. And so the whole idea of prayer is like, it's almost like, praying and then looking up to God as daddy and saying, Daddy, did I do well? Did I do that right? Will you give me something now? So that whole step about how I do that, and the idea then the ego, fixing the ego, that's the big one. Like all the 12 I heard it a bunch today, and I always hear it in New Thought, because I'm like what's called a New Thought minister, unity minister. And I still am, not what was, I just don't have a church anymore or really practice that particular take on things. What was I going to talk? I don't even know what I was going to talk. What was I talking about? I don't know. But meditation is like, I know what it was. It was about fixing the ego. Yeah, that's it. The whole idea is that the ego needs to be fixed. And the ego doesn't need to be fixed. It works perfectly. It does what it was made to do, which is protect you from a dangerous world. Now, it's not the ego's fault that you figured out it's not a dangerous world, but then it's like, okay, I want to re-educate the ego that it's not a dangerous world. And the ego's going, what the F? That isn't why I was created. I live in this thing, sucker. I live in it. I'm here to make sure that you know what's right, wrong, that's ... And that's when, things change. Like I was like, that my ego's on stage. My whole concept of how I'm in this world is on stage, and it's like all this play is going on all the time, and I'm also simultaneously, but I'm the one that created the ego and the personality that's playing on stage, the thought construct that's actually doing this. But at the same time, I'm out in the audience, which is actually I'm in the sitting watching it, which is huge. It's all encompassing. And I'm watching it the same time as I'm performing it. And the time when I get in trouble, which is what most people do, is first of all, they forget that they're watching it, that they're actually watching it, and their being is that authored it. The playwright is actually in the audience watching it. But then it's like this easy thing to just forget that you're not only there, but that the only thing that's real is what's on stage, and all your identity becomes shifted to on stage. And then it's like, if all there is on what's on stage, then all the problems, all the fixing, all that, everything has to take place, because that's all that it seems like there is. But that isn't true. All that needs to happen is you need to come back. I need to come back from that and watch and watch, and I can treat it like that lightly. Like if it's a boring play, or if I'm performing it and it doesn't make much sense, like I said, they're going like, well, reviews are in and not too interested in that. Or it could be like, oh, bravo, bravo, the best drama, the best, and I've done that too. Like, oh my God, the best overreaction with anger that I've ever seen in my life. Oh, it was good. It was good. Like almost like I'm talking to my ego. My ego's part of that I've created. It's like you did that well. You did that well. You did it really, really well. And then my ego says, yeah, but what are you going to do about her? Because that's the problem, is her. And I going, I'm not going to do anything. I was just watching your stage play. Come on. I'm not going to do anything. What could I do? I mean, I'm not going to write. I mean, I could write better lines in the play, help you write lines, but I'm not really designed to write drama. I'm designed to observe it, not write it. And you've got that covered, that part that I authorized to the ego and the personality to write that drama, it's got it covered. And so then, if that's happening, then I can love the playwright. The ego's the playwright. And also, the cat, it's one way they find the cast, it creates the cast, and it creates the drama, and it creates everything like that. And it can do that. But the one that watches it, that's why, like, one of my favorite, my best, one of my, well, he's top 2 teachers in my life is Krishnamurti, and they asked him what his secret was, because the guy was so centered and so at peace all the time. They asked him, what's your secret? And he said, well, I'll tell you my secret. I don't mind what happens. I don't mind what happens. And if you really don't mind what happens, the only way you can not mind what happens is if you see that what's happening is all within this beautiful, whatever, uncontrollable weave. It's not yours to fix, or not a problem. Yeah, I liked when Krishnamurti was talking to Bohm, he was talking about thought, and they were talking about thought, and he told Bohm that thinking was irrational. Period. Thinking was irrational. And Bohm, who's a great thinker, great physicist, said, well, isn't there any thought that's not rational, that's not irrational? And Krishnamurti said, well, the first thought that you can have that is rational is, all my thoughts are irrational. All my thoughts are irrational, which makes sense if you really start seeing things, because you're seeing your mind, because everything in your mind is based on perception. And so, of course, it's goofy. And it's really interesting that people are starting to see this, because I watched an article from it was a video I saw on CNN News that was connected to a group called Real. I think it was called BBC. And it was like, the article was this guy saying, are we all living a hallucination? Are we all living a hallucination? And he was describing in a really neat way. I mean, it was really clear how he was talking about perception, about how all perception is how the mind perceives, about how what you see out here doesn't really exist as you see it. It's something like energy wave, or something that your mind puts together when, it's not like your mind is like a channel that, and a mirror in there, that's so like you're sitting inside your head at a mirror that's reflecting everything that's out here, going like, oh, look, there's a table there. No, it's not doing that. It's making the table in your mind from what your energy patterns and stuff you see. And then interestingly enough, we're so good at this perception shit, especially collectively, doing it, that I think that my table is your table. And it may not look like a table at all, but because we've created the context where tables work amongst us in our collective consciousness, we can talk about it and yet not see the same thing at all. In other words, what we've pictured in our minds, let alone, like colors or form or anything like that. Even as we describe it, I could say, well, my description of how I see a curve, I mean, really, my description with perception, this is possible. My perception of how I see a curve could be your perception of what you're seeing as a straight line. I don't know. We don't know what these things look like in our heads. We just know that it's a picture story of some sort. So, being able, first of all, to see that, to know that I'm living in a not a real world is a good thing, because my teacher said, be in this world, but not of it. He didn't say, don't be in this world, it's crazy. He didn't say, don't be in this world, it's crazy, batshit crazy. Just, don't be in it. No, he said, be in it, but don't be of it. In other words, notice it. It's good, it's good yoga. It's good grist for the mill to notice what the mind is doing. And can we see reality? Can we see what's true for us, or what matters for us? What is according to why we're here? What really works? I don't think that can really start to happen for most people until they can get that they could at least look at things multidimensionally, like in other words, you could look at it from, like right now, I'm looking at it from, this is actually a small part anymore, because I realize, like, when I speak, there's not a lot of attention I have on that speaking. It just happens, and there's a part of me that does it and uses my storehouse of memories and my ego and stuff like that and does it. But there's a larger part now that there was not larger, like it's larger, but it's larger in awareness, where I can start, I'm watching myself as I do it. And to be able to do that is not difficult. The only reason why it's difficult is because most people are just totally consumed with the dream world, because they're totally consumed with what's out here. There's just no ability. I mean, I know sometimes when I do meditations, and I would help people do guided meditations to go to start seeing, sensing, like doing a meditation instead of like kind of like based like on, not on thinking, but on observation. Like, one of the things I got this from a Tolle book, from his first book, and I put together a meditation on this from something he wrote in just about a page in his book, The Power of Now, where the Tolle book was talking about, like, anyways, what came from it was, like, I could say like this, I could go like ask somebody to close their eyes and say, okay, I want you to think about your right hand. Think about your right hand, and then, have them, think about your right hand. What is it? Tell me what, and then come open your eyes and say, what's that experience like? If I say thinking about my right hand's going on, what happens to me? The first thing that happens to me is, why? Who cares? I don't know. Or I'll start thinking about something else, or maybe I'll go, yeah, I got a right hand, I got a left hand, I got a body, or something like that. Or there's a rash on my right hand, I don't know. But then if I do this other one, which is, I go, okay, close your eyes and say, all right. Now tell me, without looking or without moving or anything, how do you know you have a right hand? Without touching it, without looking at it, how do you know that it exists, your right hand? What about it? What do you feel? What do you sense that lets you know that your right hand is there? And what does it feel like? What's the sense of your right hand? And then, have people come back, then you come back, and then, for me, my experience is thinking about what a right hand is. It's like a concept. But if you ask me to go in and notice my right hand, I mean, like, how do I know that it's there? I have to go into it to try and sense that there's something about my right hand that is presence, and sense that presence. And, how do I do that? How do I do that? And it's actually not hard to do. It's very easy to do that. I mean, that's what meditation and being still and stuff like that is all about, is not blocking out, but transcending form and the compulsivity about attaching to things, and just sensing something. And then if I can do that, if I can start to sense things, then I can go ahead and still live that world that I'm in, but then I can also simultaneously sense it. And then my shifting of attention goes from trying to fix the world, which is fix the play. It's like plays are plays. They're just plays. They play out and they end. The circumstances always change. And you know, and in my plays, I've said this before, I'm 100% successful at meeting the circumstances of that play. I'm 100% successful at it. There's not one time I can look at all the plays I've written and been in that I can say, oh my God, that was the end of it because I didn't meet that circumstance. Well, I did meet that circumstance, always meet him. But then can I watch the play? Can I start observing and seeing what more is out here? I can't really do that. And if I know for me, I started to be able to do that when I could start making friends I made real good friends with my ego. In other words, accept my ego, not try to change it. If you try to change the ego, and it's really funny in a sense, because most spiritual treatments, that's what they're doing, is they're saying, well, through affirmation, through prayer, through visualization, through meditation, whatever, change, you know, to the point of, I was hearing it today where people are saying, you know, shut down the ego, put it in its place, make it so that you don't have to listen to it anymore. Well, that's horrible, because the ego is like a little kid, and if you ignore it, you try and hide it, it gets real loud and gets real nasty. Like, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. It's you know, much different to pay attention to the ego and go, I'm listening to you, I'm hearing you. What are you gonna do about it? Well, you know, I can't do anything about it, but I'm listening to you. I acknowledge that you're really good at pointing out fears and causes and possibility and ugly and threatening past, future scenarios in this world, and I'm listening to it all. And you know that I can't do anything about it, but I love you because you do it. And well, and I can accept you doing that. You don't have to change. I just and I know I don't have to change it. All I need to do is watch it and just be aware of what matters. What matters is not changing my world, changing the appearance of the world. What matters is noticing what's there. Noticing what's there. And you can do those simultaneously. You know, you can play it out, and you know, my ego is no different than a bird chirping. It's no different. They're both beautiful, and neither one of them I understand really, as far as any meaning, other than the only thing I understand about them is they're beautiful, and in a sense, they're love and light, and they're connected to everything. That's about the only thing I really understand about them. But actually, I like living in a world like that, where all connection and meaning and everything is very simple, and it just gets brought to me, rather than me having to dissect it like a, you know, like a frog on a biopsy or table, to dissect it to figure out how it works and what do I need to do to it. Yeah.
Dale, I've got a question. Does some of this just come with time and with age? That's been my experience. If I tried so hard in my youth to wake up, I tried so hard in my youth to recover. I tried and I tried. You know, I'm 55 now, and I'm just too tired to try anymore. And it's been waiting for me the whole time. It was the trying itself that was actually thinking I had control over this. I don't have control over this. I think these teachings finally landed when, no matter how hard, I can't try to surrender. Surrendering just came about when I was too exhausted to exhausted.
Right. It's like, yeah, that's I think that's probably a good example, especially for most of us now, where, I mean, I didn't take any, I mean, I was a unity minister, but that, I can't look at that as any course that really helped me let go more. The letting go really came from the wearing out of what I was holding on to. You know, I was just wearing out, and then as I'm wearing out, it's like an addict. You know, you look at it, and when you hit rock bottom, you're going, I can't do this anymore. And you look at it in your hand, and you realize there's nothing there, and you go, oh, and then you're free. You know, you're free when you can actually see there's nothing there. But you're not free until you could see that, and why you, and how you made something substantial out of it, and why you made something substantial out of it. And not to change it, but just to notice that, like the ego story. Like you can say, oh, this is why I created it. It's not real, but this is why I created it, because I thought this, and this. Now I see it, is there's actually nothing there, is there? like almost like I went back in space time when it first got corrected or got made, and I instead of reacting to it and defending it and saving myself, I just watched it. That's, you kind of like go back, you don't really go back in time, but you're looking at it and you're watching it and you're going like, oh, that was scary, but there's nothing there, is there? No, there never was. Oh, so I've been holding on to nothing. Yeah. Oh, and then you don't go, oh, fuck, why did I do that? You go, oh, thank God, I was holding on to nothing. Oh my God, there's nothing more to hold on to. Oh, thank you, I'm free. And so then the ego and all that stuff becomes, as you get older, I guess, because time and space wear out on this world. And then when you get older, you see the ego for me now is always I know one of the imports the ego has for me is it's always digging up places where I'm attached. It's like digging around, going like, well, maybe this is what I can move you to buy into the world. And then it's like, because I think you already are buying into this. This scares you, doesn't it? Losing this or having this out of control. And I go, oh yeah, it does. And then but then of course it's too late now, because everything that scares me, even if I go, oh God, I got to do something, I go, oh, wait a minute, I can't do anything about it. It isn't like I won't, because I would. I'm going like, I can't do anything about that, can I? No, you can't, because there's no vision, there's no juice, it's not real, any of it. But you have a reaction here, obviously, because you just have you just reacted to it emotionally. And then it's like the ego brings that up, and where I can look at it again, I go like, well, what's here? Just not to fix it, but to see it. Just to see it, to really see it honestly. Like you always say that I said things to you, Kenny, that helped free you, but all I ever did is like what all anybody ever does, is maybe mirror a little clearer to you, to look a little closer at what really is there, and have some support, like you guys saying, well, like no, like almost like, oh, we're not going to move the furniture around here on your belief. Yeah, I get that that's the belief that you think, but let's take a look a little closer and see if that's true, and then the reaction at first could be like, well, damn straight it's true. But then of course that's the part where you sit the ego and you go, yeah, I hear that's damn true, and that ought to be worked on it, otherwise it's going to be hell to pay. That could be one story, and that could be true. That could be true. And I say that to my ego, like in an instant. I go, that could be true. Ego's going like, you're not discounting this? I go, no, I'm not discounting it, because in the world you're the expert, and that could be true in the world. But we're gonna look a little wider here. Is that okay with you? And the ego goes, you're not going to try and change me though, are you? Or change this or deny it? I go, oh, no. Because in the world, you know what you're doing. And I'm not throwing away the world. I'm in the world. I'm just not of it. So I'm going to look a little wider and see what we find. Okay. You have any problem with that? And the ego's always going like, no. Because what I learned about the ego is the ego doesn't care about the meaning. The ego doesn't care about the meaning of what it's defending. Doesn't care a bit about it. All it cares about is it's like a soldier. It's assigned to protect it. And it says, I'm going to protect this. I don't care if you think it's crazy. I don't care if you went to a workshop and they say, oh, all you need to do is imagine this and da, 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 and you'll be free of it. And I go, bullshit, I'm protecting this. I'll play along with your imagery. I'll play along with everything the workshop person says, but I'm guarding this to the death, because that's what I'm paid to do. But that's why if you see beyond it, and you see like the underpinnings get cut on the thing it's defending, and it's no longer, it starts to dissolve and it's no longer there anymore. The ego doesn't go, what the hell just happened? I let you look, and this is like reasoning. What the hell just happened? I let you look at this, and now you destroyed what I'm protecting. That's not right. It doesn't do that. It just watches it dissolve, and it goes, well, there's a lot of things I'm here to defend, and if one dies, it's okay by me. I'm going to go get another one. Excuse me. And it goes and gets another one. And it just keeps getting all the ones you're attached to. But if you authorize, if you treat it like it is, as like, it's not reality, but it's like all these attachments that you still have, and not like a work job. They're there. So what? They're there. And if they come out, then you can see them. And you don't even have to, it's not a job, because if we really connect with our oneness, the same thing that I come through on seeing it that's a lie if you come through and see it's a lie, because of our love and our oneness and our agreement that we're one, really agreement, we can even sit in a group like this and you can share your actual transformation in that area. And guess what? I'm transformed by it. I don't have to go back and get it. I'm transformed by it too, because I'm going like, Kenny and I and Casey are one, and Casey saw this and sees that. And I kind of always knew that, but he walked through that. And now I've walked through that. And it's not, it's like knowing the truth that makes us free, which in this plane is knowing all the lies we've attached to on the planet and in this perceptive world. That's the truth that sets us free, is knowing the lies that we hide from and we've kept secret, and we've entrusted the ego to keep enforcing without us ever seeing. Now the ego doesn't care, doesn't want to know the meaning, and it also knows that it was designed unconsciously to bring these things up, because if we did, because one of the things the ego doesn't want is us analyzing it. I mean, it fights us too. It'll try and confuse us. It'll do whatever it can. It does not want you looking at it. The only way you can look at it is broader. And then when you see the reality of how it was falsely designed and how it meant something else, then that's okay. It dissolves away. But, it's not gonna, if you're trying to look at it to fix it, that's moving the furniture, and the ego going to have none of that. And it isn't supposed to have anything other than that. It'd be nice that the ego sits there and finally at some point you look at it and it goes, ego goes, I don't know what to tell you. I'm done here. I can't find anything to guard you from anymore, and that, but at that point, I think that's the assimilation of, it's just oneness, where the ego, like a problem, will disappear because it no longer has meaning. Like I don't pray anymore because that doesn't have meaning. It isn't like pray is, if people pray or if people ask me to pray with them, I do pray with them because that's their context. But I pray from a point of connection, of wholeness. And if I need to talk in time, space for them to help them come to that place, then that happens. I don't design it. That happens. I'm okay with that. But do I believe in space, time and praying and that God actually fixes someone? No, I think, I may not be able to say to that person because they're not able and ready to hear that yet, which is like, your loved one is totally in God's care. This is actually a good thing. You just can't see it. And maybe they can see it or maybe not, but sight is relative. It shows up as the need is there. Then it shows up. It's not necessary for that to happen for you to be healed. Yeah. At any rate.
Dale, were you on the call when Casey, and I'm going to wrap up the recording here in a few minutes. We'll keep the Zoom room open, but were you on the call when Casey, and it was perfect what he said, there's a saying going around the 12 steps, which is perfect. This is where we're at when we enter a 12-step meeting for the first time or in the first couple of years. Watch out for the black and white thinking. Watch out. It ties directly in, and this is why I love having you on board. I love recording you, because what I've heard from you is to simply watch the black and white thinking. If we watch out for it, it becomes a fearful, we start to create the resistance, and it becomes an antagonist and an enemy. And the ego loves enemies because it'll just keep us in the amusement park. So then watch the black and white thinking. Watch it long enough, and it becomes, I don't know, it's those black and white, they're the color of clouds, color of gray clouds, storm clouds. They part, the sun returns. Dale, I'm going to wrap up this YouTube archive, the recording itself. So this is Kenneth Price. This is Saturday, November 5th. Oh, before I do, Casey, we got to do you want to jump in before we go? I love having you on board, Casey, and I've loved having you the last couple of years. If not, that's okay. But did you want to include something for the YouTube archive? I put these on my YouTube channel.
No, not really. No, I don't have any words of wisdom really.
Well, I disagree with that, but
yeah. Well, Yeah, I don't know. I guess, no, I don't. I don't even know what to put into words really. It's more of a feeling of just being and um just being. I don't
Casey,
know how else to anyways. So
that's actually wise, because the man who is at a loss for words is coming from a place where he doesn't need words. You're light years ahead of me when I was your age. You're my teacher, by the way. All right, so Kenneth Price, Saturday, November 5th. This is the third time that I've hosted a 12-step to A Course in Miracles. I call it a discussion group. We go wherever they need to go. We had Deanna, we had Casey, we had Reverend Dale Blackford, and myself. And we got together on this Saturday morning, and we walked through some important topics. I recorded this on YouTube. Leave your comments below. I just love these discussions, because this is how I'm unwinding myself out of the belief that the beliefs of my beliefs are what got me into this mess. Fear's what got me in, and love is what's getting me out. I've said too much. God bless. Leave your comments below, and we'll see you next week. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Well, now I've got to turn the recording off right there.